Well, there were three clergymen having a deep discussion about the best postures for praying while a telephone repairman worked nearby. Kneeling is definitely best, claimed one minister. No, another contended. I get the best results standing with my arms outstretched to heaven. You're both wrong, the third argued. The most effective prayer posture is lying on the floor face down. The telephone repairman could contain himself no longer. Excuse me, gentlemen, he interrupted. The best praying I ever did was when I was hanging upside down from a telephone pole. Today's gospel is all about prayer, this beautiful passage about pray and never give up. And it talks about how even an unjust judge will eventually give a verdict if the person keeps asking. And then he says, how much more will a loving God hear and answer our prayers? So we see in the first reading today with the war being waged against Amalek and Israel. And what did Moses do? He went up the high mountain and held his arms up. And as long as he held his arms up in prayer and intercession, the battle went well for Israel. But he got tired, and so he put his arms down, and the battle was going better for Amalek. And so what happened? They sat Moses down, and he had Aaron and Hur raise up his arms so he could continue to intercede for Israel. And of course, the victory was for Israel that day because of the power of prayer. So we, of course, know that we should never give up praying. I know many of you are praying for your sons and daughters and grandchildren, maybe spouse or maybe parents. Never give up praying. Imitate St. Monica, imitate St. Paul, who said, pray without ceasing. So we should think about that today on this 29th Sunday in Ordinary Time, is the power of intercessory prayer and never giving up praying. Never lose hope and persist in prayer. Of course, today we're very blessed to say Mass in this beautiful side chapel. This is the chapel of St. Peter. We are in the most important cathedral in all of Spain. It's called the Primatial Cathedral of Toledo. I almost said Toledo, Italy by mistake, or Ohio by mistake. As you know, that was named after this great city. And we know that Toledo has always been a very important city for the faith. Early churches were built here way back in the 300s, and then eventually a Visigoth cathedral, as we heard, that was torn down by the Muslims who built a mosque, and then that was torn down by the Christians who built this cathedral starting in the 1220s. It took over 260 years to build this magnificent cathedral to God's honor and glory. So we especially honor Our Lady at this cathedral as well. And Toledo was one of the last strongholds during the Spanish Civil War against the anti-Catholic communist government. And I was reading today that there were 6,800 priests and nuns and lay people killed during the Spanish Civil War between 1936 and 1939. Over 2,000 of them are now beatified, and 11 of them are canonized saints. And there's another 2,000 whose causes are getting very close to beatification. So think of all the blood of the martyrs that was spilled during the Spanish Civil War. Hundreds of churches were burned down, monasteries, convents destroyed, and thanks be to God, Toledo was a great defense during that time. And of course, also want to mention today is October 19th, and it is the day that Pope Francis just canonized 9 new saints today. Let me mention 2 of them. One of them is Blessed Bartolo Longo, who is now Saint Bartolo Longo. He was from Milan. He left the faith in college, became a Satanist, was deeply involved in Satanism. But then, because of the power of the rosary, not only his brother and other people praying the rosary for his conversion, but once he began to pray the rosary, he was pulled out of Satanism and back to his Catholic faith. And he spent the rest of his life promoting devotion to the Holy Rosary. He built the beautiful Basilica of Our Lady of the Rosary in Pompeii, Italy, the national shrine of Our Lady of the Rosary. So imagine that a former Satanist was canonized today. Also, want to mention Marion's grandfather's cousin was canonized today. So that makes all of us third-class relics, right? Father Ignatius, how do you pronounce his last name? His last name. Maluyan. So look him up. He was a bishop from Turkey and then martyred in Syria because he would not give in to the Muslims and he would not renounce his Catholic faith or his Christianity. So he was an archbishop martyred for the faith. So we honor your grandfather's cousin today in this Mass. So what a wonderful thing it is to think of that we are so blessed with so many saints and people that gave their lives for Christ. And always remember that they were men and women of prayer, just as we heard about in today's gospel, that prayer is the key. So let's make sure we continue to pray every day. Never give up praying for all of your special intentions.